Yo, here's some ideas which hopelessly divide us. No sense of humor. Some people become irate if someone even laughs at them and consider laughing at another's beliefs almost damnable. Yet isn't that dangerous and oppressive? It's normal to find humor in things we're unfamiliar with and hence laugh. Let's not have thought police stopping laughter. Here's what is wrong. A. Mocking, using a caricature to make fun of someone in a cruel way. B. Ridicule for the purpose of making fun of someone in a cruel way. Here is what should be acceptable. C. Ridicule tied to reductio ad absurdum in order to quash falsehood. Nothing but free arguments, raillery, and even ridicule will preserve the purity of religion. Thomas Jefferson, letter to Dr. Benjamin Rush, April 21st, 1803. This can also apply to politics and other forms of ideology. Also, D. Laughter for comic relief. With humility, we accept laughing, ridicule, and even mocking. Without humility, we have wars and conflicts. Relativism. Supposedly, most people don't believe that absolute truth exists. Hardly. When someone has a strong argument which supports a position that suits their best interests, they press the issue for objective truth. But when their position is indefensible, then nobody really knows, or it's true for you but not for me. Yet nobody argues that 2 and 2 make 5, squares are round, or that Martians snack on moon rocks. Relativists only apply relativism to faith and morals, how we're supposed to live. Besides, relativism is a self-contradicting proposition. It's true for everybody that nothing is true for everybody. This separates everyone from everyone else, locking them into their own ego. It invites those with the largest army and biggest guns to step into the resulting chaos and enforce their values on everyone. Instead, we must always legislate morality. All laws reflect someone's value judgment. Although we should start out as open-minded, upon discovering truth, our mind should close on it as our mouths close on food instead of open-mouthed eating. And we don't accept just anything into our mouth. Interestingly, theists note that if there is an almighty God, relativism would be knocking him off his throne by having us create the truth by merely thinking or feeling instead of that being up to this God. Moreover, as our world has expanded, we become more disharmonious, positions have become more diverse and extreme, relativism doesn't work. So we must re-embrace old-fashioned logic. Closely related to relativism is magnifying exceptions to general rules so as to dismantle those rules. For example, since dangerously illegal drugs can benefit rare individuals, some want such drugs legalized and have everybody make their own decision on whether to take them. Since some mentally handicapped adults have childlike minds, some argue that strange men should be allowed on a children's playground. Some argue that on rare occasions seatbelts trapped accident victims in cars, so seatbelts should be optional, which would greatly increase the number of grievous accidents overall. Because of rare cases where children became ill from vaccinations, some argue against vaccinating children. But without their being vaccinated, a gigantic health crisis would ensue. Various people magnify exceptions to attempt to dismantle gender, age, race, and religious distinctions, dismantle all government and other institutions, and dismantle all laws. We cannot examine each individual case, cannot know the future, and cannot have millions of unqualified people also demanding to forego the rules. Therefore, many blanket laws and specific codes of conduct must govern societies, whether or not some are adversely affected by them, for the greater overall good. Automatic assumptions, hasty generalizations. Upon knowing someone's position on one issue, many people presume to know their position on something else. We may quickly assume someone's morality level, socioeconomic status, orientation, personal opinions which were not discussed, marital status, or temperament without that person revealing that information, and be dead wrong. Some generalizations are very helpful, while assumptions are often counterproductive. People often assume that information is true without researching the facts. Popularity, intelligence, and integrity. I promote fairness and treating others with kindness, extending to the entire animal and plant kingdoms. However, that does not equal blanket equality, which is bad science fiction. False equality in action, democracy, excludes the personality and replaces it with the majority who might be characterized by cowardice, ignorance, incompetence, or stupidity. Democracy undermines the importance of the individual, replacing it with the masses. Instead, true genius stands alone to oppose the average person's relative ignorance. Blessing never resided in the masses, but in society's creative heads, who therefore should be seen as humanity's benefactors. It is in our best interest to safeguard their most decisive influence and facilitate their activity. This interest cannot be satisfied nor served by the average person, who either cannot reason properly or is inefficient, but solely by leaders endowed with natural gifts. The majority should never make final decisions, only extraordinarily intelligent persons should. Most troubling is the Dunning-Kruger effect. Less intelligent and less competent people tend to think they are more intelligent, learned, and competent than those with greater intelligence and understanding, partly because the less intelligent are the great majority and assume that the majority must be right, and also because they lack the brain power to understand where they could be wrong. Beware of falling into this trap. Democracy can be damaging. Taking part in the political process was never an inherent right, but was always based on class, ability, and accomplishment. Systems of loose democracy have been purposely manipulated, such as when carpetbaggers and scalawags focus their attention on illiterate voters. Those who have not learned from history are doomed to repeat it. Consider 10 reasons why democracy doesn't work, an article on the internet. Besides, some who recognize others as extra intelligent act bewildered when these intelligent people have ideas far different than themselves. In other words, average people think they are brighter than very intelligent people. True insanity. Others claim to be highly intelligent themselves. Yet truly intelligent people should not need to declare it. It should be self-evident. Unfairly evaluating the intelligence of others in roundabout ways happens regularly, such as showcasing someone's education level. The so-called intelligentsia is highly condescending towards anyone who has not been dragged through their obligatory schools and had the expected knowledge pumped into them. They ignore true abilities, but instead consider how indoctrinated into their rhetoric you are. To them, the biggest empty head, if wrapped in enough diplomas, is worth more than the brightest man who happens to lack these costly envelopes. Rather, only one's manifest ability to analyze pertinent issues and ascertain the truth about them should be considered. See a video. Non-college educated does not mean dumb. And when considering any subject, the only worthy knowledge is that which applies to the subject at hand. Third, integrity is paramount. Even if someone is illiterate yet truthful, what they say has more value than what a neurosurgeon who is a pathological liar says. A common misassumption is that whatever authoritative title someone has, they have the same integrity as the role itself implies. Instead, decisions must not be enforced by or on behalf of people who are merely brilliant, but only those who are also conscientious, competent, and responsible. Ad hominem fallacy, attacking the person while ignoring their argument. This is the most common problem in debates. We have simple personal attacks. So-and-so is labeled mean, arrogant, weird, offensive, etc., often without proof. Even with proof, this is irrelevant to their argument. Then we have poisoning the well, bringing up another person's past in an attempt to discredit them, or trying to discredit their sources. A reverse ad hominem distortion is appeal to popularity. An appeal to popularity and circular reasoning would be, since Joe Grubble is a New York Times bestselling author, his is a must-read. Stay tuned for part 2.